From the shadowy tombs of ancient Egypt to the mist-covered valleys of Transylvania, the legend of the vampire has haunted the night through ages and cultures. But where did these chilling tales of the undead first begin? Are they simply myths? Or is there a darker truth buried in our history? Join us as we delve into the eerie and enigmatic origins of vampires around the world. We'll explore how these bloodthirsty beings crept into our folklore and why they continue to fascinate and horrify us to this day. If you're ready to uncover the secrets of the night, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join us on this dark journey. Share your thoughts and tell us, what vampire legend terrifies you the most? So, light your candles and hold on to your garlic as we uncover the chilling vampiric legends that stalk our world. One of the earliest figures resembling a vampire in Mesopotamian mythology is the demon known as Dearg-Due, which evolved into the figure of Lilith in later Jewish folklore. Dearg-Due is often considered a type of demon or spirit associated with the wind. Her nature is largely malevolent, and she embodies aspects of what we might describe today as a vampire or a succubus. Dearg-Due is frequently depicted as a sexually predatory figure, targeting men and also endangering women and children, particularly infants. In artistic depictions, Dearg-Due might be shown with features that suggest both a divine and demonic presence. Often, she is depicted with wings, highlighting her association with the air and wind, and shows a terrifying presence, conveying a sense of danger and the otherworldly. She is said to wander the earth, seducing men and leading them astray, which can be seen as a metaphor for uncontrolled or dangerous sexual desires. Dearg-Due was believed to be connected with other dark entity from Mesopotamian pantheon, Lamashtu. Lamashtu was born from the underworld's darkest depths. Her name was whispered with fear and trembling by those who dared speak it. Lamashtu was no ordinary demon. She was a harbinger of death and destruction. With the head of a lion and the body of a woman, she bore the talons of an eagle and the teeth of a donkey. This fearsome creature sailed through the night skies on wings of shadow, seeking out the vulnerable and the innocent. Her malevolence knew no bounds. Lamashtu's prey were the weakest, newborns in their cribs, their mothers exhausted from childbirth. With a ghastly grin, she would snatch infants, devouring them whole, leaving behind a trail of unspeakable grief. Her laughter echoed in the wind, a sound as chilling as the howl of the desert night. To counter her wrath, the ancients turned to magic and prayer. Amulets bearing the likenesses of protective gods were crafted, spells were woven tight as armor. High priests invoked the mighty Pazuzu, her nemesis, for only he could claim dominion over the wind as she did. But Lamashtu was not easily thwarted. She lurked in the liminal spaces, at the edges of dreams and the thresholds of the underworld. The narratives of Dearg-Due and Lamashtu intersect with vampire lore through their shared themes of nocturnal activity, predation on humans, and the subversion of natural order. From these ancient myths, the archetype of the vampire began to take shape, transforming over millennia from demonic spirits to the charismatic yet cursed figures in modern media. The well-known bloodthirsty creature of the night plays an important role in the Eastern European folklore as well. Here, tales of the undead have not only survived through centuries, but have thrived, weaving themselves into the very fabric of local myth and superstition. In these lands, the vampire is not merely a figment of the imagination, but a palpable presence, feared and revered. Derived from the word vampire, these beings are said to rise from the grave, driven by an insatiable thirst for human blood. Eastern European vampires were often described as bloated and ruddy in appearance, quite unlike the pale aristocratic figures of Western lore. Their emergence was frequently attributed to various misdemeanors in life, or a death unaccompanied by proper rites. Local lore is rich with chilling methods to prevent the dead from returning as vampires. From placing garlic in the mouth of the deceased to driving nails through the skull, or even burying bodies face down. Each practice reflects a deep-seated fear of the undead. One of the most macabre and fascinating aspects of this folklore is the vampire's trial. When plague or misfortune struck a village, it was not uncommon for the recently deceased to be exhumed. If the corpse was found with fresh blood on its lips or undecomposed, it was declared a vampire. Stakes of hawthorn or ash were preferred, driven through the heart in a ritual of fear and finality, a visceral act of protection against the wandering undead. Stories of the vampire have not only endured, but have been embraced by the global imagination. Yet, in the quiet, misty nights of Eastern Europe, the vampire remains a not-so-distant memory, a reminder of the thin veil between life and death. The legend of the vampire spread through the story of the Dearg-Due into the haunting landscapes of Ireland. There resides a tale so chilling it curdles the blood of those who hear it. Legend whispers of a beautiful young woman wronged by those she trusted most, buried beneath the cold soil in a small village in Waterford. By day, she rests. By night, she rises, driven by a vengeance as profound as her grave. The Dearg-Due, which means red bloodsucker, was once known by another name, perhaps as lovely as she was herself. During his early life, she was well known for her radiant beauty and gentle nature. Despite her humble origins, her beauty attracted the attention of a wealthy but cruel chieftain who sought to marry her. Against her wishes, her family, driven by greed, forced her into the marriage. Tragically, her new husband was not just harsh, but brutally abusive, subjecting her to unspeakable torment and cruelty. The young woman's life became one of sorrow and despair, her earlier joy and freedom crushed under the weight of her husband's oppressive behavior. Isolated and broken, the young woman eventually died, either by her own hand or from the brutality of her husband. The tales vary, but the injustice of her life did not end with her death. Buried in an unmarked grave near Strongbow's Arra in Waterford, her spirit could not find peace. It is said that her rage and sorrow were so powerful that they transcended death, birthing something new and terrifying. She rose from her grave, fueled by a vengeful thirst for blood and life. Her transformation into a vampire is seen as both a curse and a dark empowerment. She was doomed to walk the earth as a creature of the night, but she also gained the power to avenge her suffering. Her targets are often men, whom she seduces and then drains of their life force. To prevent her from rising, the villagers began an annual ritual of placing a cairn of stones upon her grave. These stones are meant to keep her spirit weighed down and contained. Removing these stones, even accidentally, is considered a grave risk, inviting her wrath to visit the village once again. As our journey through the shadowy origins of the vampire draws to a close, we are reminded that the creatures of the night that haunt our stories today have deep roots, entwined in the myths and folklore of old cultures. The legend of the Dearg-Due or Lilitu forms the bedrock upon which the edifice of modern vampire lore is built. From Dearg-Due to Dracula, these tales have evolved, shaped by the times and fears of each era, yet always reflecting the dark side of human nature and the mystery of life beyond death.